Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WCW Saturday Night Review Series for the 28th of January 1995. This is a very goofy time. Pro Wrestling Logic here, trying to bring you the most comprehensive audio wrestling series available, audio wrestling review series available, and some of these are harder to get through than others, to say the very least. This time period in WCW, certainly that. Enhancement talent match for the team of Stars and Stripes, aka Bagwell and the Patriot. Basic stuff here: arm drags and arm locks by Bagwell. Bagwell and the Patriot have been tag team champions a couple times by this point. The enhancement talents are there. I think one of them is the Cuban Assassin of fame in the Florida territory, but not 100% sure on that. Anyway, tag off to the other enhancement talent, and Bagwell gets cut off in the middle of the ring for a bit, as does the Patriot. Eventually, one of the enhancement talents tries to go to the top rope after Bagwell has been tagged back in. Heels do a bunch of cutoff. The fact that they give this match nearly 11 minutes is just goofy to me. Or they're about 12 minutes into the program here when they do this. Eventually, there is a tag off to the Patriot. Patriot manages to get things going his general direction and manages to hit a dropkick against a couple of basic moves. Super Brawl Control Center coming up. The benefit of Hogan and Vader on top is your main match for that. I don't remember that being a particularly good match. Harlem Heat gets a tag team championship match there against the Nasty Boys. Nasty Boys, I misspoke in the last review that the Nasty Boys, Stars and Stripes were the tag team champions, but I was used to them being such. Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater back to being a team. They had kind of slacked off on that a little bit, but they're doing it again here. Enhancement talent match for Buck and Slater. Slater kind of bounces around for a couple of years, actually. Lots of punching, lots of kicking. Colonel Robert Parker on the outside doing the old Southern manager gimmick, and a tag off to the other enhancement talent. I will say, Blacktop Bully on the outside of the ring, basically kind of doing a modified bodyguard type thing. Bunkhouse Buck eventually getting the victory over his adversary there. And double kind of outside in superplex type maneuver. Avalanche, aka Earthquake John Tenta, is here. Enhancement match for him. He kind of falls down in importance here in early 95. Not really. I mean, he's still in matches with the guys like Sting and others, and the Dungeon of Doom Triangle of Terror is still there. He actually does a handicap match here. Butcher and Kevin Sullivan, Faces of Fear, on the outside of the ring here. Big body slams along the way, and he obviously does the earthquake style splash from the old days. It's a clunky deal. Kind of some highlights of the Baywatch pumping and all of that. Brian Pillman has turned babyface, and he gets, I guess, a guest spot on Baywatch. Jean-Pierre Levesque, otherwise known as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, is here in this time frame as well. He doesn't leave until a little bit later. He and Dustin Rhodes have a decent match. Weird that they would go on to be Goldust and Hunter Hearst Helmsley a couple of years later and have quite a good feud. Rhodes' hair is not playing nicely with others here in this match. Just odd. Dustin Rhodes, about a month and a half or so away from being let go because of the Blacktop Bully shenanigans. Really basic match here. Good for the time, and you can see that both guys obviously have star-related qualities. Levesque gets hit with a couple of shots, gets taken down. Obviously, in WCW frame, you've got the Rhodes name having more cachet, and therefore he takes the majority of the match, including but not limited to hammerlocks and basic stuff by Rhodes here. Rhodes eventually hits the Bulldog and gets the victory there. Then we move to a square off with Sting and the Macho Man. Square off meaning that they are tag team partners going into Super Brawl, going to face, I believe, Avalanche and Bubba Rogers, if I remember correctly. And certainly, that is a pretty big thing. Savage endorses Sting, which at the time is a pretty big deal because still WWF seen as the larger of the companies. Therefore, an endorsement from Randy Savage is a big deal. Speaking of that, the Harlem Heat and push continues. Sister Sherry, aka Sensational Sherry, out there with them. Barry Houston, one of the enhancement talents, one of the better enhancement talents of the time. Some big body slams and really basic stuff. Harlem Hangover gets a victory for that to come about. Randy Savage is up here next in a rare Saturday night match here. Arn Anderson is his opponent, and yes, this is as good as one can expect. If you are not listening to the, I guess I'd say relaunch of the Arn Anderson podcast, it's definitely something you should do if you enjoy old school wrestling. Arn going through his career almost territory by territory in a weekly episodic way. The Arn Show is worth checking out if you haven't. Savage slows down the match, as does Anderson. Anderson has an early advantage but loses it because Savage is a little bit quicker. Colonel Robert Parker, who is managing Anderson at the time, is leading him quite well. Hard shots by Anderson, cuts the ring off on Savage a little bit and uses ring gentlemanship. Vertical suplex by Savage eventually gives him a bit of a comeback here. Savage and Anderson end up back out on the outside of the ring, and Anderson hits the steel post. Savage comes back in and is willing to, do more selling. Savage actually does more selling in this match than most of his WWF matches near the end before going into into the WCW area. They go back out to the arena floor short term. Double axe handle from the top rope by Savage actually turned into a crossbody with a roll through from Anderson. There's actually a moment where Anderson looks like he's going to win the contest, but that doesn't happen. Eventually, we see a cutoff, and the heels, including Ming, Colonel Robert Parker, and everybody else tries to get in on it, but Savage handles everybody in a 3-on-1 situation for a minute. Gets the top rope, Randy Savage elbow drop for the victory. Better match than one would expect. Hogan promises to get rid of the Faces of Fear, the Butcher, which basically has already been done. Plus, it wants to get rid of Vader come Super Brawl. That's the biggest challenge for Hogan at this point. We are going to continue after this. More action right after this.